Peace. Good morning, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. Today is Monday, September 19th. Another day that you are here alive, because if you can see me, I can see you. And because I can see you, I know that you are alive and well. You're breathing. You're you're committed to life. You're here just like I am. And like always, a start in the spirit of gratitude by saying thank you and appreciate you for being here. Appreciate you for listening, whether you're listening on the podcast distribution or you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube. Peace. Good morning, Miss Anderson. I know I'm like 4 minutes late, but I wanted to make sure that what I was presenting was truly something that I want to present. Because identity shift is so interesting and it's so intricate that it's not something that should be rushed, not for me. And it's kind of like where I am right now in the shift of identity and knowing and understanding not just who that I am, but knowing and understanding the things that I do, just like you. So my question to you, as you see it proposed right there, right here, you see it proposed right here. It says, do you need a shift? It's supposed to be in. I'm gonna fix that. It's okay. That's why everything is can be corrected. That's even in what I'm saying today. So it actually worked out really well because I can fix it. We can fix it. I'm gonna leave that eye like it is. It's little, but it's okay. You understand what it is. All right. So identity shift. I'm not going to be on long, but I do want to give you something that's going to be beneficial for you, and how you see it is definitely something that you can actually use. So again, let's go ahead and take that deep dive in identity shift. So like always, for those who may be new to the platform, maybe or maybe not, new to the platform, where we talk about and we give you definitions of the words, and we also give you etymology of it, which is the origin and things of that nature. But there's no etymology today, but it's okay. It's all right. You're still getting what you want. You're still getting the information, and that's what's good about it. We're doing what is required, right? We're doing what is required of us. All right, peace. Good morning, Mr. Bowens. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Identity. So I'm gonna tell you something. As you've seen inside in the content, maybe not. Identity for those who have been military. A lot of times they've only given us they teach us how to identify. They really just teach us how to identify targets, right? Or they teach us also how to identify soldiers and problems with soldiers and how to help everybody else. But they don't really teach us how to help ourselves. They don't really put us in a space to where we're learning more about ourselves. I don't like this music, it's bothering me. It's learning more about ourselves and learning who we are as people. And I think what happens when we do that, it makes it hard for us to work different when we're no longer in the military. So I'm gonna give that to you when we get into the deep dive. So let's go ahead and jump in this definition right now of identity. It kind of went left a little bit, just transparent, kind of went left a little bit because I didn't like with the music that was playing in the background. It was messing with my psyche. All right, so identity. It says the qualities, beliefs, personality traits, appearance, and or expression that characterize a person. The qualities, beliefs, personality traits, appearance, and or expressions that characterize a person. Put identity inside the chat because we're really going to jump like into it, and I want you to the things that you can identify with, and those things that resonate with you. Just put it in the comments, because a lot of people come back and they look at it at the end of the show, or people who's not on in the morning, they see it in the afternoon. So it says the qualities or beliefs, personality traits, appearance, and or expressions that characterize a person. So what I want you right now to focus on the inversion of white over red, which states the qualities, beliefs, personality traits that characterize a person. What are your qualities? What are your beliefs? What are those personality traits that characterize you? We know qualities, there's two sides to qualities. There are good qualities and there's qualities that are not so good, right? We're not going to say bad qualities. We're just going to say they're not so good. The reason why I say not so good, because every quality that you have that is not so good, that gives you room for correction. So I'm not going to call them bad qualities. I'm just going to call them qualities that are not so good, because you have time and you have room to work on them. Just like beliefs, qualities, beliefs. What beliefs do you have that you know that you need to shift in order for you to be more or a lot more productive in your life, or a lot more productive in your business, or a lot more productive just to yourself? Same thing as personality traits. Those things that characterize you, the identity. So the second definition of identity is sameness in all that constitutes the objective reality of a thing. So, like, I've learned this today, and it really allowed me to just listen to things a little bit different. Just reading it, because I'll be honest, that's what took me so long. Because the inversion on this is red over white. The objective reality. Like, when you look at the objective reality, it makes you sit down. Shoot, it tells you to sit down. Right? What I want to know from you, those that are watching, how do you see an objective reality? Because it's the objective reality is a hard thing. And I'm gonna show you the definition of objective too. And it may create an aha moment for you, because I'm not gonna lie, it definitely created an aha moment for me in just looking at it and identifying with it, because we're creating and we're communicating about a identity shift. So again, the definition says sameness in all that constitutes the objective reality of a thing. I might just do a whole segment on the objective reality, because it hit me so hard, because an objective reality, the objective, what is an objective? Objective is not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts. So, what is the objective reality? What things have you done, or what things do you do that need a shift? Because some things that you do, like when you say hurt people, that's true. But how can hurt people heal? They can heal by looking at it from an objective reality. Because look at objective. Again, the definition says not influenced by personal feelings. But because hurt people, they're not looking at what the effect of that hurt is. So the objective reality in the hurt people, and allowing hurt people to even develop an identity shift, is to look at the effects of their hurt. Look at the objectives of the hurt, because if it says the objective is not influenced by personal feelings, that means you are pulling your feelings out of it and you're looking at how it affects other people. So the correction is not looked at from a personal perspective. It looks at from a results perspective. Like, what are the results of what is being poured out? Or what are the results of what you do? What are the results? The results will allow you to influence and to change and to shift the who that you are. So let's take this quick dive, right? In identity shift. Because identity shift, it that's something only you can really identify with, right? So there's something in the military, well, Army. I can't say Air Force, anybody else. I wasn't in that world. So something in the Army they call shift from a known point, right? Shift from a known point. Before you actually shift, or to know, before you start, you have to identify what the target is. And when you identify what the target is, you then have to give distance and direction. Like distance, 1,000 distance and direction. You say distance 1,000 meters, direction left 50, whatever it is. And then after you have identified that target, and then you shift on that target, and then you start successive bracketing, which is your corrections. If I say add 400, then the next thing I do is drop 200. The next thing I do is add 100. The next thing I do is drop 50. So have you identified what can be corrected in your life? And what is your shift? I can see that, let's go in a deep dive. I can see that what we're doing right now, I'm just looking and speaking and generalizing the conversation, because I'm not saying you and I'm not saying me, but I can see that there are things that we know that we need to shift, but we don't identify those things. So therefore, there will never be a correction. You see how that played out? Because if we can do it in uniform by acknowledging this is what it says it is, and this I can identify with, but what am I doing after I identify it? Are you willing to shift it in order to make the correction, in order for you to reach that goal? A lot of times we're not, because we're not looking at the objective reality, because we're looking at our own personal selves. We can identify with sabotage, but we don't want to identify with self-sabotage. We can identify with what everybody else is doing, but we won't identify with our own individual trauma. We can identify everybody else's feelings. Well, we can identify with everybody else's problems, but we won't identify the individual problems that we have, because we don't want to look at who we are to identify that thing that need to change within inside of us in order for it to change. Because it seems like we're always changing and adapting to an environment that we're in. It happens all the time. I don't care how old you get. I don't care what you do throughout the day. There is always going to be some sort of an adjustment that needs to take place. But after you have identified what that adjustment is, that's where the correction come in, because the correction is the shift. Because before you give me the correction, you have to give me the direction. Like, I want to change my relationship with, say, my boss. I'm at the workplace and I want to change my relationship with my boss. What's the distance? What's the direction? Where are you going? Can you identify where the problem lie? Can you identify with the conversations that were had? Can you identify with your expression? Can you identify with your body language? Can you identify with their body language? Can you look at it for what it is and know that if that thing is ever going to be corrected, I must have an identity shift inside of my mind before I think that is ever going to take into its physical form? Because we can all create a better identity, right? We all have room for correction. Everybody, me, you, we all have room for what we can do better, right? We all have room for a character trait that we know that needs to be adjusted. We all have room for, or even to acknowledge. Well, let me take that back, because not everybody is going to acknowledge it. There's certain people that do not live in the world of transparency, nor in the world of accountability. I mean, we all know that one person, right? We all know that one person that won't identify nor be accountable for that thing that they know that could have been done different, or that thing that could have been said different. But can you identify that for you? Have you been transparent enough to identify what need to be adjusted? Because a shift is a decision. An identity, it's something that you can relate with, or an identity is something that you can see, or an identity is something that you acknowledge. But the shift is the action. What are you going to do after you see it? What are you going to do after you have identified that you've hurt someone? What are you going to do after you have identified what the target is? You have to begin the process of shifting if there ever is going to be a correction after it has been identified, right? So some of the things that can be done after it has been identified and in the shift, because remember, shift is an action. Identity is the acknowledgement. I can acknowledge that this is going on, or I can acknowledge that this has been said, or I can acknowledge that this is what I'm saying, or I can acknowledge that this is what you said. But now what are we going to do? Are we going to keep talking about this thing, or are we going to shift? Are you going to keep acknowledging that thing, or are you going to acknowledge that a shift need to take place? Because the shift only happens after a decision that is made. Because once you see it, you do something about it. Because if not, it is always going to be something that is going to be detrimental to the future, or the detrimental to the steps that can be taken forward, because of a lack of the decision or the lack of shift. So once you've identified with what that is that need to be shift, right? It's, I mean, it can it can be said. It's easier said than done. But a lot of times people say it's easier said than done, and they do nothing about it. It's easier said than done, and they make no correction. It's easier said than done, and they action nothing. Sometimes it's easier for you to just to say that, because you're neglecting the actions that need to take place. So when you look at that thing and you begin that process of shift, the first thing that you do after that is to do things with intention. To do that thing with the intention of shifting in the direction that is a correction, or in a direction that is for the betterment of who you are, or for the betterment of the entire situation, because that is the identity shift. And it's really not about what you know. It's who you are with what you know. I'm going to say that again. It's not about what you know, it's who you are with what you know. Because if I can identify it, then I must adjust the who that I am because now I know. If there is trauma, then you identify that trauma and then you execute from who you are with what you know. Like, what are you going to do with it now that you know? What are you going to do with it now that it has been exposed? What are you going to do with it now, the actions that need to be taken in order for you to change and to develop with those true intentions? And within your shift of that identity, I think a lot of times we try to make it like super big to make it look like, yeah, I'm doing something. You don't even have to have a big why. You just need something to aim for, right? You don't have to have this elaborate word to say or this huge, like, earth shaking shift. You just need something to aim for. Because I think sometimes when we try to make it big and we try to make it all pretty and we try to dress it up and put a bow tie on it, that could be wasting so much time that you tried to dress this thing up and you've missed the mark. Because it don't have to be a big why in your shift. You just need something to aim towards. Because I think a lot of times, because we're trying to make it pretty and because we're trying to just put it on a high pedestal, it doesn't take all of that. It just takes you having something to aim for and actually shifting. It takes you to make a correction on in order for the shift to take place. Make the decision. And then after you make that decision, the main thing that you have to understand, because remember, the objective reality is you taking your personal feelings out of it. And then after you take your personal feelings out of it, give yourself permission to improve. Just do that. Give yourself permission to improve. Because that's all you need to worry about at that moment is, have you given yourself permission to improve? Because giving you permission to improve is allowing yourself to know that I have identified my pain points or the target. I have identified what it is. I have identified how I feel when I'm in this moment. I have identified the effects of my identity, or have identified the effects of what need to be done. Now it's time for me to make that decision on what that correction is going to be. And then begin your shift with intentions. Begin your shift with a direction. Begin your shift with true purpose. And then you can actually begin to change the legacy. You can actually begin to change the family traumas. You can actually begin to change your internal traumas. You can actually begin to change the outcome of your reality. You can actually begin to change the legacy of wealth. You can actually begin to change what being poor looks like within your family, because you can identify what poor is. So you're going to start doing the things that is going to build wealth because you've identified it. But now it's time for you to shift. Correction. Because there may be someone that's waiting on you to make that shift because it can make it better for the rest of your life. It can make it better for the rest of your family. It can make it better for the rest of your business. It can make it better for the rest of your community after you have identified what that thing is and begin the process of the shift. All right. Hey, y'all be blessed. And remember, consistency can definitely create currency. After you have identified what it is and shift. Realign yourself with your purpose. Realign yourself with your goals. Realign yourself with the direction that you're going. And allow yourself to know that it's okay to give yourself permission to change and to shift your identity into something that's beneficial for you. Because you deserve it. You deserve greatness. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to smile. You deserve to build wealth. You deserve to replant your legacy. You deserve it. And because you know that you deserve it, now take that next step. Just like last week, Friday, we talked about results take time. Results take time. So within that time of the results actually manifesting itself, give yourself permission to shift. Don't block your blessing. Don't block your shift. Don't block it because somebody else don't see it. They're not there to see it. That's your shift. It's not theirs. They don't have to see your shift. They don't even have to acknowledge your shift. You acknowledge your shift. You acknowledge the actions that need to be taken in your shift. Because once you do it, you're able to build on that thing that you shifted from and understand the process that you took to shift. So now when there's something else that come up, it's like, you know what? I can identify this because I've seen it before. I knew what I did when I shifted away from it. I can do it again. Only after you have identified. And then your identity then takes that shift. All right, man, y'all be blessed. Today's Monday. Another day for you to be successful and another day for you to be blessed. Peace.